back to Catherine's Flavours of the World. You know, the last time you would have seen me make a classic Irish soda bread. And today I'm taking you on a little adventure to France, to Lyon and Provence in particular. I want to show you how to make a beautiful lavender sugar. Look at it, it's so gorgeous and it smells beautiful. And I want to show you how to make a classic French lemon tart. Tart au citron. Let's start with the lavender sugar straight from Provence. So this is really easy to make. I know you're probably thinking, why would I make it? What can I use this lavender sugar for? Let me tell you, this is delicious sprinkled on desserts. I'm going to put it in some cream to serve with my lemon tart. You can also even put it in your tea and have a lavender breakfast tea. It's gorgeous. All you need is lavender. So when you're on holidays in Provence, don't forget to pick up some beautiful lavender, bring it home as a souvenir. Get some lavender soap as well when you're at it. It's gorgeous. But here I have from my own garden here at Ballynockin, lavender that's already dried and it smells so good. So make sure it's nice and dry and make sure, of course, whatever lavender you use, that it's culinary grade. And this here is our lovely, we call it castor sugar. I think you'll find it's very like an American or a Canadian granulated sugar. And all you need to do is you just sprinkle the sugar in like this into a jar, just like that. Very easy to do. There's only 2 ingredients in this. Well, I tell a lie. There is a third ingredient. The third ingredient is thyme. So we pop in our lavender. I should stress actually when I said the third ingredient is thyme, I mean T-I-M-E as opposed to T-H-Y-M-E, which can catch a few people out. Here we go. Look at that. How easy. Now we go with more sugar. The sugar just fills that gap nicely. Because with the benefit of time, this will infuse beautifully together. So I'm just making sure my lavender is nicely buried in there. I can pop it in like this. It's as easy as that, like seriously. To think you can do a recipe so quickly. And then you just leave it and let those flavours infuse. And the lavender is quite okay to eat, so don't worry about sprinkling. As long as it's culinary grade, you can sprinkle it on whatever you're baking or making. All right, that's it. Seal it up. And then we can revisit that when we need to use it. Luckily, here's one I made earlier, so I'll use that shortly. But now I need to get on with my tart au citron, this beautiful classic French lemon tart. And the reason I wanted to do this was, you know, it is such a wonderful recipe and there's key skills in it. I want to show you how to make a pastry and how to perfect that filling. And my lemon tart, I can tell you now, is very lemony. It's the right way to do it. So let me get my ingredients for that and we'll go ahead and make that. Let's start with the pastry. Now the pastry is an all butter pastry, the only kind that you can possibly make. And a lot of people are a bit nervous about making pastry. You have no idea how easy it is. I'm going to show you. This here is my all-purpose flour and I'm going to sift it just to lighten it a little bit. So in that goes into my sifter or my sieve. And then just give it a little tap against the heel of your hand. All our flour in. And then I also want to put in a little bit of sugar. Again, this is this castor sugar. Look, it's only about a teaspoon, but it just sweetens it up a little bit. You can also put powdered sugar in if you prefer. That's that done. Next, a pinch of salt. Just a little pinch. Because we need to talk about the butter. So whilst I'm making a classic French recipe to give you a taste of Lyon and Provence, I do hope you forgive me. I'm using Irish butter. I have to. I'm Irish and it is the best butter in the world. This is salted Irish butter. So I only put in 1 pinch of salt in there. So if you're using unsalted butter, put in a little more. So we make a little well and we pop in all our butter. Now we need to work pretty deftly at this. We need to rub this butter in nicely. So get your fingertips in like that. Take up plenty of flour and push that butter in. The butter's just at room temperature, so I want to work nice and quickly because I don't want my butter to get too oily. It's going to make it very difficult to make a nice pastry if my butter melts too much. There we go. So we're just cutting that butter in. That's lovely. And there we go. We have it nicely done. You can't really see much butter anymore. And it's nice and crummy. And now we need to bind. And we do that with an egg yolk, and I'm going to add a little bit of water to it. So this is my tablespoon measurement, and we're going with, do you know, I'm only going to go with 1 tablespoon to start with, and let's see how I get on. And we'll get a little spoon to stir. There we go. And in that goes. Now, what I like to do now is get a knife and then just mix that egg in with the knife. If I put my hands in, my hands are quite warm at this stage, and I really don't want that butter to soften any more than it needs to. So we'll just start off by giving it a stir with a knife or a fork, and then we can decide if we need a little bit more liquid. Let's have a look. I think that's perfect. That's holding together nicely. If it was very crumbly, I would definitely put in more liquid, but I would be happy with that. So now I can bring it together. You know, when you're making pastry, there is a little bit of it depends on, and in particular, it depends on the size of the egg yolk you're using. And sure, you'd have to have discussions with the hen to figure out what size egg yolk you're going to use. So be prepared to be a little flexible when you're making your pastry. So just bring this together nicely now. And then this goes into parchment paper and into the fridge. So I'm just going to give it a little kneading here without any flour, just to bring it together. I don't want to add unnecessary flour to it. And then I'm going to flatten it out and give it a little spin, and flatten and give it a spin. So what I'm doing is I'm just getting it into a circular shape to make it a little easier for rolling out. And then we have our parchment paper, and this does need to go through the refrigerator to rest, because the glutens in the flour rest and the butter hardens up a little bit again, making it much easier to roll out. And to the fridge. Now it's time to roll out the pastry. It's been resting for about 30 minutes. And here we go. So, little bit of flour both sides, and off we go with our rolling pin. What I keep doing is I just keep doing a little kind of quarter turn on it, just to make sure the pastry isn't sticking to my countertop. You do need to work reasonably quickly with this, because you don't want that pastry to get too soft. Now, see the way it's just sticking a little bit? This is where this gadget comes in. This is a palette knife, and you just slide it in like that, and then a tiny bit more flour underneath, and back into position again. This is so therapeutic. Now at this point I usually bring my tin in and see, will the pastry fit it before I roll it till it's paper thin. So this is my lovely tin, and it's a loose bottom, so it makes it very easy for making pastry, and I think I could go a little bit more just to make it a tiny bit wider. And now we need to get the pastry into the tin. So we roll the pastry around the rolling pin nice and gently. Get the tin in position, lift it up like that, and off we go. There we go. Drop the pastry down and push it into the tin. Now make sure you're filling every section, and what I like to do is I then like to just push the pastry forward a little bit. Can you see that? It's just that I've got an extra little bit of pastry, and then I go around with the tip of the knife just to decorate it. Now you see this extra pastry? This does not go to waste. We keep that just in case you have a little crack later, and that way then you can always patch. So we need a knife now, and I use my thumb and my forefinger, and I just tap the knife around the pastry, just pushing the pastry up a little bit. Perfect. Now we need to bake it blind. So what we have here are these baking beans. So you just get a parchment paper, little disc of parchment paper, sit it in like this with the baking beans. If you don't have baking beans, you can just use rice or dried chickpeas. You just can't cook with them again later, right? And then this goes into our oven and we bake this blind for about 20-25 minutes. Now, to make the filling, as I said earlier, my lemon tart is very, very lemony. So here are my gorgeous organic lemons, and we start with the zest of the lemon. So when I say zest, I really mean only the lemon part, not the white pith. That's way too bitter. Zest of 3 lemons, juice of 5. So we get our chopping board here. Oh my God, they're so juicy. They're gorgeous. Next, I have an old-fashioned style of juicing here. I always feel you get more out of the lemon using this kind of a gadget. You can see it here. You can put a lot of pressure on it. This is quite the workout, to be honest, doing this, but this is so worth it. Now, we're on the home stretch. Now, if that isn't going to make the best lemon tart, I'd be very surprised. Now is the fun bit. So we need to get eggs in here. So I'm going with 4 eggs. You can crack them separately if you're a bit worried about shell going in, but I'm going to chance it. Next, our lavender sugar. So here's some lavender sugar that's been infusing, and I'm going to add some to the rest of my caster sugar, about 3 tablespoons. So I'm going to have that beautiful lemon flavour and essence of lavender coming through as well. This is going to be so glorious, and for sure, this is definitely a reflection of all those beautiful flavours you will have when you're on your adventure with Viking, going through Lyon, through Provence. You'll be tasting all those beautiful wines, sampling all the delicious foods. And of course, we all know Lyon is the gastronomic capital of France. So what are you waiting for? I had a lovely holiday there not so long ago. It was really gorgeous. So we'll pop that aside. Now we can put in our lovely sugar with that lovely lavender flavour. And finally, this is heavy whipping cream. And we go in with that. And that's our filling made. Give it a little whisk. You don't want to over whisk because you don't want too many bubbles coming from the eggs. If you could just smell this. It's so aromatic. Now let's finish our tart. The pastry's just done. Smells delicious. So now we can take out our baking beans. There we go. And I have a little tip. I have some egg white here. And I'm just going to brush that egg white on the pastry base, pop it back into the oven, and just leave it there for about a minute. And what actually happens is the egg white glazes the pastry, gives it a nice shine, and think of it like putting varnish on your wood. It actually gives a barrier against the liquid so that we don't have a soggy bottom, as they say, when we go to fill our tart. So this literally goes back in the oven for a minute. Now you can see the pastry's cooked. I need to get this into here. So I have a top tip. What I do is I put the pastry case back in the oven and I literally pour the liquid in to the pastry case when it's in the oven so that I have no spillages, because it's really hard when this is full of liquid trying to lift this and bring it to the oven. So it's a top tip for you. So we'll go over here, pull out our oven tray a little bit, get our pastry back into the oven. Give this a little whisk, and you can still see those lovely bits of lavender, but I want to make sure the lemon zest is well distributed. And off we go. Pour to your heart's content. There it is. Perfect. Nice and gently. Push it back into the oven. And there we go. We just leave that to set. We're looking for the centre of it to be a little custard-like. There should be a little wobble in the centre, and then we know it's done. If it's still runny in the centre, it's not done. So we just give it time. Now my French lemon tart has cooled down, and I've garnished it with some lavender because I have the lavender sugar in the tart, and some fresh mint from my garden as well. And to finish, I always think a little dusting of powdered sugar looks really nice. So from lemon tart to lavender sugar, to tasting local wines, to hunting for truffles, really Lyon and Provence are the gastronomic hub of France. And I really hope that my recipes will give you a little taste of what to expect on your next Viking adventure. Enjoy them!